Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry, we're running a little bit late today. Was a little bit busy. The holiday season, you guys know how it is, most likely. Lots of different stuff going on. And I had to rush back home to get this thing started. But we have 4 bags today, 4 wonderful mystery bags to dig into to see if we actually have anything vintage inside these bags. I'm pretty excited. Uh, we had a great mystery bag Monday last week. It was incredible. It's like almost a whole, huge 55-gallon bag full of vintage tennis T-shirts, like Wimbledon and Nike Challenge Court. So it was really successful last week. So hopefully we can duplicate some of that success this week. Maybe kind of hard, but we're going to get to try anyway. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a great time. If you've never seen one of these live streams before, we open up these mystery bags that we buy from local thrift stores. Typically, these bags are sold as rags for like mechanic shops and floor refinishers. But we go and buy them and try to save any dope vintage T-shirts from getting destroyed in the abuse later on. So we're gonna dig into these bags, and not every thrift store in the world does these bags, but some of the thrift stores in my local area do. We don't have like a Goodwill bins or anything like that, so this is the closest thing that we can get. So without further ado, let's get into the first bag. Now, if you have vintage questions about reselling, questions in general about whatever, or hanging out, like drop them in the chat. Let me know first that you guys can hear. Always want to know whether or not, make sure the audio is working correctly. Would not want to do this whole thing completely silently. It would not make as much sense. But we're hanging out. Would love to hear what you guys found last week as far as thrifting. If anything dope, drop it in the chat. Show it off. We have Bass Pro Shop T-shirt right off the get-go. Not a vintage one, but pretty fun. 2008. Yeah, so let me know if you guys found anything dope in your thrift stores. Would love to hear about it. Anyway, we had a pretty good week. It's a pretty busy week. Obviously, we're talking about all of the events surrounding the holidays. We're preparing to go to Disney World for Christmas. Actually, really excited about that. I'm really excited. I might be more excited than my kids are. Oh man, that's sick. The $90. Where at in Virginia? I'm curious if you don't mind, because I spent the 17 years before the last 4 the 17 years before I got here. I was living in the Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area. I consider myself in large part to be a Virginian. So that's where I cut my teeth. Thrifting, cut my teeth, in general. But yeah, I never met a whole lot of the vintage community in that area. So real curious. I know that obviously Travis Weatherspoon had his the first round 2 in Richmond and RVA. So that's kind of like a pretty go-to spot. What do we have here? Ooh. Okay, dope tea alert. We got North American Wildlife on the Fruit of the Loom tag. Check that out. That is sick. Single stitch. We got all of them. We got some bison, some fox, some lynx, some moose, and pumas, and ram. This is sick. I like this tea a lot. Oh, sweet, Fred, a vintage 1985 Dido. Okay, 20 minutes out. Okay, so a little bit on the Northern Virginia side. I lived in Fredericksburg for 3 years. Loved it up there. I was getting a little bit crowded, but oh, whoops. Did I just accident? Oh no, I didn't. I almost threw this in the wrong pile. I'm putting that over here. So we're on the board with one vintage t-shirt. I see a single stitch right here, but who knows whether or not this is actually vintage. It's not. So everyone check this out. This is it's an alternative, some blank, modern blank. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's got a single stitch in the sleeve to deceive. So watch out, because they do make t-shirts these days with single stitches. Typically they're pretty obvious that they're single stitch, but just got to keep that in mind when you're out there digging. All right, we got some actual rags, got some towels here. I've not been outside of like these rag bags. The t-shirt department has been pretty weak for me. There's just not been finding a lot of dope tees lately. Now outside of rag bags. Rag bags we found some pretty dope ones, but like just off the racks, vintage t-shirts have been a tough one to find. And maybe, I know there's not a ton of like competition out here where I'm at, so I'm not thinking it's like competition snagging them before I do. It's just they haven't been coming out very much. So yeah, drop in the chat if you found anything dope this week. Just brag about yourself a little bit. I'd love to hear about it. Love to see what other people are finding. Obviously, you can't share a photo of it in this venue, but would love to hear about what it is you guys are finding out there. And if you guys have any, Levi's or vintage clothing questions that you need help with or whatever, drop in the chat. Your question might help other people too, so it's pretty dope. All right, so lots of like kid clothes in this one, so we're not coming up on a whole lot outside of that one pretty dope vintage tee, wildlife tee. Yeah, a lot of like youth size in this one. A lot of youth size. I'm just dreaming the one day that I'll like pull out a heart-shaped box tee and I just lose my mind, or an X-Men all over print. Yeah, that would be pretty dope. Ooh, we got some random gross 90. Ugh. Yeah, sometimes I'm not like super thrilled to touch all these clothes, but you got to do it. You got to do it for the love of the game. All right, next bag. That was bag number 1. We've got 4 bags, or at least 3 bags left today. So, I'm excited this week. The contest that we did a couple weeks ago, I did pick up some stuff from the seller who won. It ended up that it had to go to the. It ended up having to go to the runner-up, which was great. But, okay, what's this? The Dog Artist Collection. It's got a website on it, but it's on a TNT, which is a newer TNT. It's not single stitch or anything. The Artist Collection. I don't know. Maybe it's a limited print run. Yes, I saw that, Storage Guy. I did see that. I have not been able to look at it yet. I'm like really bad with Instagram, unfortunately, but I did look at the Storm Rider one first, and I was staring at it for a little bit. That's a nice Storm Rider jacket. The Storm Rider, in my opinion, is underrated as a jacket. They did make those for a while without changing the design much, so it can be a little confusing as to whether or not you have an earlier one or a later one. But yeah, Storm Riders. I've probably found more. I've definitely found more Storm Riders than really old Levi's jackets. Here's a Harley Davidson tee, very modern. Probably, I think I said 2019 this tee, but because of the design and it looks like it's in pretty good condition, I might try to sell that. I've been selling those Harley tees, even newer ones, for decent amounts of money. So it tends to be worth it in the end. Vintage Air. Says Vintage Air 29 below. 2012. Just word to the wise. Anytime you see a t-shirt that says like vintage on it, it's not vintage. Like that's pretty much a dead giveaway. Dead giveaway that the t-shirts are not actually true vintage. Howdy, howdy. Welcome into the chat, everybody. We're glad you're here. We're digging through some rag bags, looking for vintage t-shirt. These bags come from a local thrift store that makes them up mostly for what? Oh, mostly for. Oh, that's cute. I've had this t-shirt before. Mostly for like mechanic shops and stuff. Here we have a vintage tee, Montana, Pride on the Pride Mountain tag, single stitch. I've had this t-shirt before. I think I actually sold it for like $12, $15. Found a pair of Levi's in a thrift with the wash instructions printed on the inside pocket. Ah. So critical WZM. So printing on the inside on the pocket rather than having a care tag puts it earlier than 1971. Levi's started doing that in the late 60s, 67-ish. I don't have a specific date as exactly when they started, but it was later in that era, and they may have done it a little bit before that. But most likely, you've got a pair from like late 60s, very early 70s. But yeah, like you can totally send me an email or hit me up on Instagram with some pictures. I'd love to take a look over at it again. The email is lootfam1@gmail.com. And my Instagram is lootfamvintage on Instagram. So hit me up on those places. I'd love to take a look and give you a better idea of what you're looking at. But it sounds to me like if you've got that printed there, it's pretty square that it's very early 70s, late 80s or late 60s. Look at this. Look at this shirt. It's like a vintage Arizona tee, like 90s. But look at that. That's a sick graphic. That's sick design right there. We're gonna keep that. It's like a heavier, thicker cotton. Yeah, that's sick. I like that. I dig that a lot. Storage guy, you were worried that the care tag on the Storm Rider was gone? Yeah, if it was gone, it could be hard to date. And we've talked about this channel. Like Lee is sort of a frustration of mine. I love Lee, but I've been trying to get them to spill the beans on how to read their tags, their care tags, and they will not spill the beans. They claim that it's like proprietary information. I'm like, man, Levi's talks about it. Levi's will confirm it. Why won't you guys confirm it? What do we got here? We got an anvil. Oh, this is cool. Look at that. It's like a collector's car insurance tee. But it's like late 90s. But it's cool tee though. It's on an anvil red tag. Yeah, this is probably late 90s. Look at the tie dye. It's kind of cool. Hold on to it for now. But right before I came here, I was, oh, this is dope. Check this out. It's not that old. It's not old or anything. Cool little Pikachu tee. I know somebody who will love this t-shirt. It's a bit big though. Ring spun. It's 2XL. That's probably a little bit big for my guy, but pretty sick. Right before I got here, I was running sound for a Christmas Carol like candlelight service. So I've got all these. I have all these Christmas carols in my head. Yeah, dude, you're like a number one, dude. I'm glad you're here, bro. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we can hang out, talk about vintage stuff. What are you guys hearing about in the vintage world? Listed it with the measurements only. Gotcha. That's fine. I mean, like there's only a couple things with the storm riders that you can really do to be be confident that it's a certain age. Here's another one of those. No, this is a different one. The 2014. That's when that's from. Never mind. There's only a whole lot you can do to decipher like a storm rider jacket. A lot of it comes down to that Lee, um, the Lee tab right here on the shirt itself. There's another one of those. Might not be vintage, but yeah, it's a lot to do with it. Yeah, Fred, dude, man, that's a question I wrestle with a lot. Um, like for me, it's tough too because I like with these like rag bags, I get a lot of t-shirts that are like not fast movers. I sell a lot of random t-shirts here, um, but like there is a point where through the years you have to decide like I've actually recently been doing that with stuff. I've been doing a little bit of a different methodology. Oh yeah, I've been doing a little bit of a different methodology with pricing. I've been like pricing things a bit higher than probably like 40% higher than I would expect their sale price to be on eBay. I then accept offers, but then like every week I drop all the price of the whole store by 5%. Um, so I drop everything like 5% every week or so, and I get stuff that gets down to like the oh, there's a cool Kingdom Hearts tee. It's not vintage or anything, but it's a sweet one. Um, and then just try to get some of that stuff out of the way um, because I just get so many t-shirts. So oh, ThriftCon, man, I gotta go to ThriftCon. Like that, man, I gotta go. It's a dope, super fun. I mean, I just like out here in the middle of nowhere, so it would take me like quite a bit to get to ThriftCon, and then I have to like figure out how to take all my gear, but and all this stuff here. Um, but we've been talking about it. Next year I might get down. ThriftCon, from what I understand, they travel. They set up in different places, right? Um, I might just go to go um, and just enjoy it. Oh, we have a vintage Fruit of the Loom blank. It looks like it's on the early '90s tag right here. We'll hold on to that. Yeah, the 509. It's funny because I feel like I just didn't start seeing it until more recently. Um, but I believe the 509's orange tab. Is that what you said already? Yeah, you said it's an orange tab, but it's an orange tab. Um, from my experience so far, I've found that most orange tabs are almost all from the 80s. I don't, or orange, excuse me, orange tab 509s are all from the 80s. I haven't found any of them that are old, that are younger than that. They are, I believe, a relative of the 509, or excuse me, the 505. So I believe they tend to be a straight leg jean. Exactly what their whole purpose is and what's specifically different, I haven't discovered yet on the 509. But it is a jean that is out there. It does sell. I do believe it's a version of the straight leg. Oftentimes, when Levi's makes the distinction with their lot number, there's some subtle thing even that's been changed. Whether it's like it's in like okay, maybe it's straight leg but slim or relaxed a little bit in the hips or something like that. But the 509 seem to be fairly short lived, primarily living in the 80s. I've not found a 70s version, that's for sure. Yeah, Denver's the one that me and my brother talked about visiting a couple months ago. Oh, this is cool. It's totally not. I mean, Misfits is really not like I wonder if anyone that actually wears Misfits t-shirts anymore actually listens to the Misfits. But that's a Misfits tee. Probably a Walmart something or other. But got any Misfits fans out there? You're welcome. You're welcome, bud. If you want to, you can send me more pictures um, at lootfam1 at gmail.com, and I can take a closer look and help you try to identify a little bit further if I need to. But it's up to you. So cool find though. They actually do sell fairly well. So if you're looking to sell them, they do sell fairly well. I'm gonna think about it for next year for sure. Like no doubt. Um, Definitely gonna think about it. Um, we just had to downsize vehicles, or not downsize, but we have to not excuse me, not downsize. Um, what's this? Nope, that's not old. Because of course I have now 4 children, so uh, I've got to put them in a van or something like that. So I'm not as flexible in travel as I used to be. Um, what's this? Oh, little thing. Um, but anyone else been to ThriftCon here in the chat? There's only a handful of us here, but anyone else been to ThriftCon yet? Anyone thinking about going? If we go, we'll do like if I go this next the next time it's like in Denver or maybe even Chicago if it comes to Chicago. Um, Chicago would be the best. That'd be a lot closer. Or Kansas City would be probably better, but um, oh yeah, you gotta get listing. Listing can be tough. I know for a fact it can be difficult and frustrating and tiresome but you can't make any money unless you sell. Hey Leo, greetings from France. Hey man, thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. What do we have here? We got something here. What's this? I got an Anvil XL USA. Just North Carolina. I guess so. Some sort of like North Carolina tourist tee. All right, we got some actual rags here. Storage guy, you're in KC, right? Is that what you're saying? I think I remember you saying that before. Or no, in Kansas City. Denver would be closest. I'm misunderstanding. Um, but yeah, Denver, I think is where I think that's where the guys that sort of started it live. Yeah, dude, you don't have to stuff. I mean, don't feel like we talk a lot about selling stuff on the channel, obviously, because like that's what I do, and I know there's a lot of people that are trying to do it, but totally don't feel any pressure to sell stuff, man. Keep it if you enjoy it. Like I have stuff they're not like crazy pieces, but I have stuff that I just don't feel like selling because I buy stuff routinely that I'm like, this is like not going to sell, but I need it for reference. Especially like random stuff from like the 70s and 80s that's like dead stock. I like to have on hand to sort of reference some of the materials. All right, so far to this week so far these bags have not been anywhere close to last week's bags. Obviously they weren't going to get that close because last week was nuts. If you haven't seen that video, go back and check it out on our lives. It was last week, and it was just absolutely nuts. We had a whole like 55-gallon bag of vintage 90s like tennis t-shirts, all kinds of stuff like Challenge Court and Wimbledon vintage tees. It was pretty wild, pretty gnarly. Yeah, Patagonia is a killer. So good. Carhartt, obviously, super good. I don't find a lot of good vintage Patagonia out here, unfortunately. Okay, KC. The 821 Red Tab. Huh. I'm familiar with the 521. The 721, I believe I've even seen. Um, I'd have to look. I've not so the 21s typically when there's 21, if it's a 90s, if it's a 90s one, if it's an earlier, like if it's like a 70s or 80s pair, they change the lot numbers a little bit, Fred. And so if it's from the 90s, it's most likely a tapered. Oh, this is, man, another cool T-shirt that's not vintage. The Ocarina of Time. This is a more modern print, much more modern. Man, that'd be cool if it were. And that would be nuts. Um, taking a shower. I need to take a shower, man. I stink right now. Yeah, dude, Patagonia vintage stuff really is incredibly dope. Like no doubt, hands down, some of the coolest, like some of the coolest vintage in the game. Um, but like out here in the Midwest, it just unless somebody moved from the Pacific Northwest, um, it just doesn't make it. It doesn't seem to make its way out here. I think I've found maybe one deep pile in my entire life out here. Um, it just doesn't seem to show up much. That's colorful. Look at that. Yeah, it's a really great company. Love Patagonia. Um, love Carhartt. Carhartt we find all the time. Carhartt's like, I mean, obviously Carhartt coming, I believe from like originally from like the Detroit area, the Midwest. Like that's kind of our, you know, it's kind of our stuff. So we find a lot of that stuff out here. It's pretty dope too. Um, I'm excited about this week because we're gonna release a video on what we bought from one of you guys. We, I got some pretty cool stuff. The contest winner, uh, I went and spent $100 in their Depop, and it was dope. We're gonna do a little video about what we bought and a little promo for their Depop. They've got some exceptionally good stuff. So, it was great to purchase from them. That's it. Ugh, that was pretty rough. Not gonna lie. Let's go back over just a couple of these things. There's a handful of things that were all right. First off, probably the best tee of the night, in my opinion, is this single stitch Fruit of the Loom tag North American Wildlife tee. It's pretty sick. Back hit. Yeah, yeah, for sure. LA man. Oh, you've been living up north a little bit, and we have this like dog the artist collection. I don't know what this is about. Maybe it's like some limited piece. Doubt it, but we'll see. Never know what sells. Some of the wild stuff. We got this modern Harley Davidson T-shirt. Nothing wild, but it probably will sell for like 10 or 15, so I can make my money back. We got this big old Montana vintage tee, tourist tee, NorCal. Now, like, hey Ryan, little late. It's all right. I was a little late. Unfortunately, we're all done with the bags. We had 4 bags. They were smaller bags, and they were mostly empty. Just going over a couple of the pieces here. I like this. This might be my favorite piece of the night. What do you guys think? It's like just an Arizona Jean Company shirt, but like it's pretty sick. It's got that heavy cotton. The pattern is gnarly. Like it's gnarly. Yeah, look at that back. I just love that. It's a cool pattern. NorCal. Far as I've ever made it in California was San Francisco. Back when I rode freight trains and stuff. We got this modern Misfits tee. I don't even know if I'm going to sell that because it's probably from Walmart. Um, we got this blank for the loom. Yo, gold mines, man. I'll tell you what. If you know what you're doing, get in those gold mines. We had this vintage North Carolina tee we found. not crazy, but maybe it'll sell for 10. Otherwise, it was like this uh, uh, modern Kingdom Hearts tee. It's pretty cool looking, and I guess it's probably like a bootleg Pikachu tee. Yeah, that's way up there. Yeah, I when I was hitchhiking, train hopping, and all that stuff, I we got to San Francisco, and then it was like deep enough into the summer that it was like time to stop and turn around. So I rode trains probably. Well, let's see. My first year riding freight trains was '07, like '07 to '09 or '08. So like right out of high school, I was riding freight trains mostly on the in the East Coast and Midwest. We actually didn't ride any freight trains in California because when I got to California, I had hitched a ride with this band and was their roadie. Yeah, dude. Man, we got a little crew here. A little I still have I it's it'll be hard to show you, but I still got my stick and pokes from back in the day. Um so being on the road, a lot of fun back in the, out of high school. Yeah, well, there was a lot did a lot. We didn't ever did graffiti. At least not. We would tag trains with our like train tag and stuff. But yeah, dude, my man. Uh, I was just telling so I was just some. I hadn't thought about it much recently. I was just telling someone about some of my all like wacky, crazy stories from the road. Um, yeah, so dude, you're absolutely right. Full circle is absolutely right because like I remember it's funny because I remember going into thrift stores back then, and I just wanted to like look. I always want to find the coolest, like rattiest thrift stores for like denim jackets because I wanted a denim vest, and I would basically back then I would just like buy one band tee and wear the heck out of it, um, but like but I'd wear the heck out of that t-shirt. But I was like totally trying to be super fashionable, even though I was like trying to look disgustingly dirty. So chills, huh? Hello. Hey, 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 welcome. Welcome everybody. We've gone through all the bags today. There's this big pile right here. Unfortunately, it was a pretty weak showing this week. But um it was fashionable. It's right, it was fashionable. Like we were wearing I'll some point here I will do at some point here I'll go back and I'll do a video just sort of and give some of that story and that background because it's pretty fun. The stories are pretty wild. I look pretty gnarly. So may I ask how many years a car rental and how do we know the year? Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know much about car rentals. I know you have to do a 24 or something, or you can be 21, I think, or maybe it's 18. But um, maybe rephrase the question. Yeah, look how much old T-shirts are going for. I know, dude. I don't know if my favorite T-shirt was a Dystopia T-shirt. If you don't know that band, look them up. They're pretty wild. They're from California. They're from like so I think they're from like San Diego maybe. But I wore the hell out of that T-shirt. Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel that. Like, I mean, I didn't grow like I grew up in I grew up in a big family. I had 8 brothers and sisters, and there wasn't like tons of money to go around. So trying to be cool, you definitely hit the thrift stores up. And ah, okay. How many years is vintage? And how? Okay, um, so typically the industry, the market, so to speak, considers any T-shirt or any item of clothing over 20 years old to be vintage. That doesn't work for all different. That doesn't work for all categories. Like you mentioned, cars. Cars calling something a vintage car, I think it has to be quite a bit older than that. I'm not entirely sure, what they define vintage as, but in clothing, it's 20 years. And how you know the years, there's a lot of different methods, and there are in our library, if you want to check it out, on our channel page, there's a bunch of different ways to determine the year and age of certain clothing, like Levi's, like vintage t-shirts. We're going to be doing a bunch more vintage t-shirt tag videos where we just review the tags and talk about which tags is from which year. So if you have some of those questions, check those videos out. And if you need to, you can email me at lootfam1@gmail.com. So you can check out those in the channel page. So well, one day I'll be a master. There's still a lot to learn. There's still a lot to learn. I'm realizing every day, like I'm still trying to put together this Wrangler video. I'm actually like working to try to decode Wrangler's tags. They too have said no, they're not going to share that information with us. So I'll be trying to decode that. And once I've figured out I'm on to a couple of ideas, and maybe if I've sorted it out and make it a little bit more consistent, I can we'll actually do this video. So yeah, it's fun. Like the whole reason I got into like making videos was I remember when I was doing this, trying to actually get into like reselling, not just like wearing and collecting and stuff. Um, because I'm like, I want it to be my full-time gig. But like I started making videos because I remember what it was like trying to figure out what the heck was going on. How do I determine whether or not a pair of Levi's is vintage or not? I had no idea what I was looking at. So definitely wanted to help people to find that information a lot quicker than it took me to find. So, but yeah, you're yeah. I talk to a lot of people pretty regularly about their thrift hoards that they've just sort of collected, and sometimes they eventually just sell them to me because they don't want to have the hassle of going through them all. Um, but it's pretty dope what people find out there, and that's one of the things I think is so much fun about this thing is that it's a treasure hunt. The treasure doesn't make sense to some people, but for those that it does, it's really fun. So yeah, dude, it's wild what you find. I've met a couple people that they would just sort of thrift as a hobby, and they didn't realize how much value was in their little collection that they had sort of accumulated through the years. So, but that's awesome. So, all right, well, guys, I think it's time for me to roll out. My wife wants me to put the kids to bed, so got to take care of the fam. This is the Loot Fam, so we got to take care of the fam. It's crazy how many levels there is. You're absolutely right. I feel like I'm just at the steps, and there's a lot more to go. There's a lot of other smarter guys out there that know a lot more than I do. Google. That's true. All right, yes, I'll try to get the Wrangler stuff. It's probably going to be in the new year. I don't think I'm going to be able to have it all sorted out well enough to get it before then. But otherwise, we'll see you guys later. We got videos coming up this week. Thank you guys for hanging out. We'll see you guys next week. We'll probably do one more live stream before the end of the year, before we take a little break around Christmas time. But hopefully, we'll see you guys here next time, and we'll hang out. Peace, guys.